Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
First world, come in and take a seat. Pay us no attention, it's all conspiracy. We have satire and parody, some funny, some perverse. If none of it's offensive to you, you'd be the first.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. Nice to see you all. I got a couple of terrific guests tonight, and I can't wait to talk to them and hear about their new projects. Without further delay, let me introduce Mr. Chad Perkins and Derek Stevens. How we doing, fellas?
Hello.
Man, it's great to see you guys. It's great to see you guys.
Shit nuggets, you're real. Dude, I am happier right now than two hobos in Mama June sweatpants French kiss.
Oh, that's pretty happy.
For real.
That's pretty happy.
Wait, do we not believe that Timothy was real?
Well, he's like this dude. I got to work for him. And please, let's start. I don't want to.
Yeah. Wait. Save that. We're going to save that when we go around. We're going to.
Oh, okay.
And I appreciate you saying, but one thing that I really want to make sure I emphasize you guys, because I'm actually a fan of both of your work. So what we'll do is we're going to go around in a circle. I'm going to start with just real quick, and I'll start with Chad. If you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your product, and just a short elevator pitch. And Chad, you go first.
You just told me to come on. I don't have anything. No, so hey, my name is Chad Perkins. I am currently working on my first Kickstarter, The Legend of Sparkle Dog Don't Say a Woo, which is a I know, it's probably the strangest, weirdest thing I've ever written and probably will write. It's a multi-genre adventure where a gender fluid character buys a fursuit on a shady website, and once it's delivered, you kind of figure out that it might be the one controlling him. So it's pretty exciting.
That sounds good, man. And congratulations, Chad, on getting your first Kickstarter going.
Thank you.
So, and Derek, how about you? You and I know each other a little bit also, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your current project and a short pitch for it.
Allow me to grab my prop.
I thought you were going to grab pot for a second.
Right, so hey, my name is Derek Stevens. I've done all sorts of stuff. Jumped out of airplanes, close quarters combats, working psych. But what I'm wanting to pitch right now is a fantastic, I guess, vision. I love fantasy, but I love high tech. So I'm doing a Shadowrun type sort of world. I can't say it is Shadowrun because although I work for the company, they're not sponsoring it, if you know what I mean. It's a vampire merc. Technology does not work in the undead. There's a gun-happy orc that they're best friends. And there's a dwarf named Tennyson who gathers favor and uses it against everybody. There's a thing called SIN, which stands for Synthetic Intelligent Nanonites. He can marry magic and tech together. So the merc, the orc, have to find out how and what he needs. Woo! Okay.
It sounds terrific, man. And I got to tell you, most of the viewers probably know, I actually know these two characters a little bit behind the scenes. And I'm a fan of your work. And one of the things I want to do is to make sure we get a little leverage onto some of these projects. Am I correct in assuming that for both of you, this is like your first project?
Yeah. Well,
right.
This is my first Kickstarter project. It's not my first book.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, an accomplished author in your own right. And, let's get some eyes on these projects. Chad, let's start out with, can you tell us a little bit about what influenced you to create this project?
All right. So
This ought to be good.
It is an entertaining story. So me and one of my artists, Blake Matthias, we went to a furry convention to support a friend's artwork. So we were sitting at the table selling it, just promoting it, having a good time. And at one point I'm sitting there, alcohol was involved. So we were both sitting there having drinks. We were just sitting at the bar and I go, "Hey, Blake, you ever just think when these people like take off their costumes, do they like forget that they're here? Like, is the costume like really the person or like the personality?" And Blake was like, "Shut up, that's stupid." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we ended up just kind of going back and forth and joking around about how when it comes to cosplaying and just everything, you kind of become that character when you want to have fun.
Sure.
And so we were kind of joking about that, where I was like, "Oh, well, what happens if it mind controls them and just gets really crazy?" And that's when we kind of came up with The Legend of Sparkle Dog. Because I'm like, yeah, we should probably do that. But what if it's like it is kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's meets Puka, where it takes him on this really magical, mind-warping, creepy adventure. And then sure enough, it kind of turned into a game of chicken where I wrote the first page. And then he goes, "Oh, yeah, well, I did some concept art for it." And then it kind of spiraled out of control. And now that's what happened.
It became a monster in its own right.
It became our little...
Nice.
Yeah, cool. And Derek, how about you? As I said, you and I know each other a little bit. I was a fan of your work before. Tell us a little bit about...
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Tell me a little bit about what influenced you to create this project, whether it's other art or writing, or what was in your mindset?
Well, I'm going to make a long story short. My goal was to work with the FBI through Foreign Language Diversity Program to go into behavioral health and hunt down serial killers. For real.
Wow.
My background is I can draw most anything and bring back full reports without any gear. And what really influenced me is my wife. She gave me a Cintiq, which I use. She's like, don't turn it into a job. I met Mark Reinhagen, the guy who created Vampire, and it's like, hey, can you do this? It turned into a job. And I've got like probably 15 books in the last 2 years, and lots of artwork in it, which is fantastic. But I wanted to do something for myself. I wanted a passion project. So I played World of Warcraft.
Yes.
I played a druid.
Nerds.
Nerd now. Nerd. Her name was Xandra, and she was an information broker. I'm like, I'm going to make myself famous so all those people who I played with will know me. And seriously, it's such bullshit and narcissism, but that's what I did. So I go back to a game I played, RPG. My buddy Mike Stauffer ran a brilliant Shadowrun-esque game hero system, and I took some of the characters out, and Xandra from Warcraft, Aristotle the Orc. Back to my psych background. So I write a true psychological clinical background for every character. Xandra, and then Aristotle the Orc. Aristotle is schizophrenic, but he has 2 guns, one named Bonnie, one named Clyde. And they talk to him, which is great for pushing the narrative and the story where things can happen between panels because the guns are talking to him. But then I relate what schizophrenia actually is and how to get help, what needs to be done. And there's always hope. So I'm trying to marry what I do in my day job. I am this close to being full-time. It's a passion project.
That sounds cool, man. And I will tell you that passion projects are often the best kind of projects. And I will tell you this, I make all my projects without the thought of making money. I do it because I'm driven by a shadowy compulsion. Yes. I'm not even sure why I do it. But the truth is, if you pursue your own passions, your percentage of likelihood of becoming successful is actually much higher because people can sense like, hey, he's not doing this for money. Look, we all need money, let's be honest. But the truth is, if you make something that's off the beaten path, and this is going to lead right into Chad next, if something is a little offbeat or sort of weird, you actually have a better shot of grabbing that brass ring. And for the record, I just want to, real quick, I want to say hi to the people in the chat. We got Brian, we got Greg. I know Pops is out there. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys watching. Let's see if we can get some eyes on these projects for these fellas. Now, Chad, when you make your characters, I'm going to ask you next about character creation, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you base them on anybody in your life? Do you use, like I know sometimes people use this sort of RPG creation for their characters. Starting with Chad, how do you come up with these weird characters?
Drugs. Lots and lots of drugs. No, so it's kind of, when I come up with my characters, I always try to kind of base them on the personalities I sort of like. So like with Quinn, he is very, or they, I guess I should say, is very outspoken, very driven, very sarcastic, and kind of trolly. Like they kind of mess around with people online and it kind of gets them in trouble. Winter is from Blue Lullaby that I wrote recently, is kind of more of the preppy, but still kind of gothic, violent type character. And then Otis is, which is my new project that's coming up, is just a guy who wants to get stuff done. So I always try when I'm developing my characters based on like personalities that I seem to enjoy. And I always try to put a little bit of myself in them as well. So with Quinn, I'm a little bit of a troll. And if you can't notice, I'm a little bit of a goofball. And then Otis as well. And then Winter, they're more of your adult, more mature style characters. So I also try to make them more interesting with their personalities. So I'll try to make a loose cannon or a crazy rambunctious person. So my development style isn't really too concrete. I guess you could say. It just kind of comes to me sometimes.
Okay, cool, man. And Derek, I'm going to change it up just a hair for you because, like I said, I actually had been following your work before I reached out to you, and some of your designs. First off, I love them. What I was going to say is they don't really look like anybody else's designs, right? And there's something that's sort of mystical and creepy and underground. Not necessarily very comic-y is what I would describe.
It's not.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm drawn to that kind of stuff. And I guess I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Number 1, why did you decide to do it that way? And number 2, what were the influences?
All right. So the reason I decided to do it this way, I've done comic books in the past, the pen and the ink. I didn't drop color on it. But with the vampire stuff I've done and all the cyberpunk stuff I've done, honestly, it's faster. I'm digital. I use a tablet, the Cintiq, Clip Studio Arts. I draw really fast, blocky things, throw paint in it. And if I need textures from hair, I'll Google like light hair and throw that in, blend it. My computer really makes me look a lot cooler than I am.
I mean,
for real.
That's pretty sweet.
For the darkness, what I try to do is say Zan is the focal point. So I draw Zan in a seductive sort of pose. Boom. Then I draw the background. I put Zan in the middle, and then I try to throw something on top. And then I blend it out and throw another layer. It's all about layers. Mark Reinhagen calls me Machine Gun Stevens because my turnaround, and I miss the scratching of paper. I remember being in college. Real story. We had, if this was my rendering, we had to measure up 1/16 of an inch high, guideline, 1/16 of an inch high from that guideline, name front to back, erase the guidelines, turn it around, and put a tracing flap overlay cut by 45-degree angles. I was doing a painting in class, and my X-Acto knife skipped and cut me, and blood went all over my painting. There's nothing I could do. And my professor on my tracing flap rendering or paper said, presentation sucks. So when I went to school, I just wanted to draw hot chicks, dragons, guns, and cool stuff.
Well, you just described all the cool categories.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I mean, there you go. You got everything right there.
My influences, honestly, are Scott J. Campbell. He was such a sweet man. He did Danger Girl. I didn't know who he was. I was at Comic-Con. I showed him my work. He's like, some of the perspective needs this and that. And he took time to talk to me. He was all alone. Only later did I find out that was Scott J. Campbell. I love Michael Turner. Despite him having cancer, he was a machine. And then my other influence is Christopher Shye. I worked with him, a dude named Philip Reed from Steve Jackson Games. And Christopher showed me a few things, and then I looked at his artwork. I'm like, how do I dissect that? How do I do this and this and that? But those are my big, and honestly, we have a wall of fame. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it behind there. All my girls and my wife, they're in books. I don't put myself in books. I'm not that narcissistic, but I kind of am a little bit. Those are my influences.
Kind of gotta.
Yeah. It's funny you say about meeting your influences. I got a quick funny story I'll tell you. You know, I go to the Baltimore Comic-Con. That's kind of our big one. And I'm in the elevator. I'm riding up. There was a little incident with the hotel staff, so they upgraded my room, right?
You beat them up?
Yeah, I was violent.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
So then I'm going up to the 11th floor. I got this great room and everything. And I didn't know it at the time, but some of the better talent goes up to that room. Not that I belong there. Obviously, I'm in the wrong place.
Oh, you do.
No, you do. We all belong in that same room.
Yeah, you're sweet. But so anyway, I'm on the elevator with this dude. And, you know, we get on and, you know, we have what I call elevator chit chat. And the guy goes, he sees my badge and he goes, "Hey, are you in town for the convention?" And I say, "Oh yeah, you know, actually I live a little close. Baltimore is kind of like my local convention." And he says, "Oh, do you mind if I ask, what do you do?" And I say, oh, I'm a writer. I write a science fiction title, and there's a new book here that we're promoting. He's like, anything that I might know? And I was like, well, I do Kickstarters, and I run through the names of the titles and stuff. He's like, oh, I'm not familiar with it, but I'll have to check it out. And I was like, oh, that's very kind of you. I said, how about you? What do you do? Are you in the business? And he says, yeah, I do a little writing myself. And I said, oh, anything that I might know? And he goes, well, I wrote for Superman for a number of years. My name's Jerry Ordway. Jerry, geez, I know who you are. So here's me, making idle chit chat on the elevator with one of the titans of the industry. And I'm blathering on and on about my book without even asking him who he was. And by the way, he was a super sweet fella. He couldn't have been more kind. But it just goes to show you that, a lot of us in the comics world, we're not necessarily known by our appearance, right?
It's
like,
true.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God. So
wear a bag over my head.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say that, man. I love your fantastic outfit that you've put together for us. And
it's just my pajamas.
It's quite the ensemble.
That's what I wear to bed.
I did put cologne on. I know you can't smell it, but I smell sweet.
No, I can smell it from here, man. I can smell it.
Yeah, good.
Is that what that smells? It smells like shame and piss.
A little bit of fecal matter too. May I piggyback on that just for a second?
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
I've worked with a lot of high-end names, will not be mentioned, and some of them have been real jerks.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage, whether you're starting out or you're big, I want to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be married to any piece, because the client is always right. And you have to change things up. Don't get me wrong, I've been so pissed, and I'm like, as an artist, I can't have an ego. Now with my own comic book, the reason why I like this is because DC says you have to do panel 1 this way, panel 2 this way. Marvel is like, well, here's the page synopsis. So my co-writer, Andrew Finkel, who I've done like 4 or 5 books with, we talk about it, and I get to do my own thing. I get to do my own pacing. Because you think about Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in the dentist office. Well, I know what a dentist office looks like. You guys do too.
Yeah.
But you got to draw at different angles. So I prefer to do my own thing. Working in comics is hard.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because what you're describing there, some people call that the Marvel method, right? And it's got its pros and its cons. Some people love it. It does have its detractors. I kind of do a little bit of both. Like I do board out my own stories, as they say. But I also, at the top, we always put what they call the beat. And it always says something like this. Basically, she approaches the spaceship, it's nighttime, and she notices the smoking, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I allow a little bit of interpretation.
I see that in my mind.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this to Chad, because he and I are both music guys too. It's not too different. Comic creation is a lot like being in a band. You assemble your team around you and you try and get the best people. But when it's time for the solo, man, let them play. Like if you hired Eddie Van Halen for your band, and you just to pick one guitar hero, I know there's many, but you put him up on stage and he starts to play the solo, you wouldn't run up and go, no, Eddie, no, wait, do it like this. Nobody would say that, right? So if you hire your artist, of course, you've got to give them a little bit of latitude for the interpretation. So first, let's start with Chad. When you make your pages, do you start out like my question is this: how finely detailed is the script, and how much room for interpretation do you give to the artist?
Do you want my real answer, or do you want a professional answer?
Real.
Yeah, I want the real answer.
Depends on how lazy I am at that moment. I'll be totally honest with you. So when I first start out with scripts, I do generally try to at least say, wide angle shot, or upward angle, or just try to get a good camera angle of what I'm envisioning. But sometimes that can get really tricky what I'm trying to explain. So sometimes I will just, especially with the new book that I'm working on with C. Michael Lanning, is I kind of told them, I said, if there's a angle or there's a description that you don't really understand, or you have something else envisioned, you are more than welcome to do a concept or just say, hey, this is my interpretation of it. Like today, we were just talking about one of the bars that I have in one of the scenes, and he's like, hey, you really didn't do a description on this. You just said a square bar. And I'm like, yeah, that's because buildings to me are just rectangles. It's really hard for me to describe them. So his interpretation of it is he turned it into like a boat. And I told him to put tentacles under it too, to make them like hand railings. And that's what it came into, is like this really interesting architectural structure. So I always try to give them some pretty good freedom, especially like, and it also, again, like I said, it does depend on how lazy I am that day. Because sometimes I will just type out, you know what, they're in the bar, they're talking, just whatever you want in the background, just go ham on it. I don't care. Blood, guts, and action scenes. Just do your thing, like whatever, have fun. So, and I think that just also builds a sense of like companionship. I guess companionship is the best word to describe it, or friendship between the artist and the writer, because at least they get to use they get to stretch their creative muscles. Right. And then you also get to kind of go back and forth with your own creative muscles with them.
Well, and by the way, Derek, I'm going to ask you this next, but real quick, I just want to add, think of the number of times, I don't know how many pages you've done, but think of the number of times where the artist maybe came up with something better than I did.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, he's right. I better, you know what I mean? Which I think all of us, we tend to, what's the right way to say this?
We envision something different.
We envision something different. And then when you see the work come out the other end of the pipe, you go, oh my gosh, this is better actually than what I thought. As long as there's a disclosure, as long as it doesn't disrupt what's about to happen next, which occasionally happens, because I don't always give all 24 pages at once. Or, depending on the number of pages in your book, of course. But, sure. Sometimes we'll do it a page at a time, because like all of us, we work with the expenses and that kind of thing. And I got to say something like, whoa, on page 6, she doesn't know that's him yet. He's got to be standing in the shadows. We don't want the reader to know that it's the butler in the dining room with the candlestick. It's like a mystery to be solved. Derek, how about you? So you guys, it's you and Andrew Finkel?
Finkel, yes, from Media Stream.
Gotcha. And do you guys work off a script? How do you tell us a little bit about how you put it together and how much room for interpretation is in the script?
I'm really blessed because I created everybody and everything. It's not a normal symbiotic sort of relationship. I don't have the skills. You
created your artist too?
It is me.
You got the test tubes out. And,
yeah.
A little bit of sass. Boop. A little bit of asshole, boop, and it's me. So I came up with this idea, and again, I've worked, I think, 4 to 5 books with them, but I don't do layout. I'm not a graphic artist. I hate it. I'm ADHD. I gather dopamine from my artwork. On a given day, I had a lady say that she had 8 alien babies in her belly, and she was refusing medicine. So I had to go to the doctors, pretend, come back to her and say, hey, we can't do a sonogram for alien babies, but we can do for normal babies. So we can't see your babies. But it'd be really great if you want to take the medicine they want to give you to help you and your baby. She's like, sure.
Hang on. Is this a real story?
No, it's a real, I work in psych. I stabilize homicidal, suicidal people, drug detox. I see the worst of people.
Oh, okay. Continue. Sorry, I just needed some clarification on that.
No worries. Yeah. So with Andrew, at my job, it's a 10-hour day. I work really hard for 4 to maybe 5 hours, but I have 5 hours to create at least. So I bring my tablet, and that's how I get everything done. We talk continuously, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And then he's like, all right, maybe this and this and this. So I draw the pages out, and then we talk about the script. I have a confession. The last comic book I've ever read was The Crow. It's terrible. It's like in the 90s.
Dude, don't even get me started. My to-read pile is so big.
Yeah,
I don't have time.
Have that. We all have that, man. Don't feel bad about that.
I finally finished Sweet Paprika like the other day, and it's been out for like 3 months.
And I love a bar, and I wanted to make this dark, gritty world, which is semi-poetic and an allegory. That's the word I'm looking for. For Zan, I want her to have an arc where she's redeemable. but honestly, I don't know if she is. In the book, she has to kill her ex-lover, who's a priest. He tried to save her soul, and many bad things happen. He loses an eye and some other things to prove that he's dead. So I like writing. The stuff I've written before, it's very descriptive, but I didn't want to give myself total control, because when you give yourself total control, you're pigeonholed into a niche. Mm-hmm. And Andrew can do all the logo type and the words, and he springs off great ideas that I wouldn't think about. It's not about it's always about a team.
I'm going to chime in there. I totally agree with you. And I will say that, and by the way, Chad, you're a writer too, right? You're not artist.
No, I'm a writer. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't want to speak for you, but I'll come to you next. I'm not an artist at all. I mean, I got a little bit of art skills, but I'm primarily a writer and musician. We write the theme songs for the Kickstarters. But I will tell you that the best work is always collaborative. And what I mean by that, we sort of touched on it earlier, where that if you have, I don't know how many people you have on your teams, but it's generally at least a 4-man team or 5. And, the best work kind of comes together when everybody is lifting their corner of the boat. So, I would definitely agree with what you said. And let me ask you this, Chad, because I want to, we're learning a little bit about you, and I hope that the viewers can feel inspired by what you're saying and check out your work. I would ask you this. It is not always necessary to carry a message through media. And I'm not implying that it should be. But my question for you first, Chad, is there a message in your book? If it's just entertainment, that's fine. This is just a kind of a general question. But is there a message?
Yeah, it's don't do drugs. No, it's
well, it's a good message.
Mine, to be perfectly honest with you, The Legend of Sparkle Dog, Don't Say a Woo, it is just me having fun. It's me and Blake Matthias. We're writing different genres in each issue. We're just kind of stretching our muscles when it comes to being creative. So when somebody goes, "Oh, this was really weird," it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be goofy and fun. So, I mean, there's not really an underlying deep message to it. It's just, I guess to me, it's, if I gave it a message, it was, just have fun making your book.
Yeah. And by the way, that's a great message. And, I should point out quick that, well, it's not always up to me, but I think that customers don't necessarily like being preached to that much. And if there is a message, it should be kind of subtle to start with. But at the end of the day, comics should be fun.
Yes.
Yes.
So Derek, tell me a little bit about yours. Do you have any kind of underlying message or anything like that?
I don't want to say unfortunately I do, but with the background that I have, when I first started the Mobile Crisis, I seen stuff I wouldn't tell a priest about. It's effing evil. So when I started training, I looked at the Batman characters. Selena Kyle, Catwoman, has a borderline personality disorder. Bruce Wayne, Batman, most likely has a medication issue where he uses to alleviate pain. And I would study that, and then all the things I've ran into. First of all, it's fun, but I wanted to indicate every personality, every person, every character. This is the clinical diagnosis. And just because you have this does not mean you're hopeless. Does not mean that you're sick. And there's help. So I just kind of
like
wanted
that a lot. Yeah, that sounds terrific. Yeah, that sounds great.
I never think that there's any problem with having a message in your books. As long as you're not making the person feel, in my opinion, as long as you're not making the person feel stupid or talking down to them, Right. So, because there's a lot of good books out there that are like autobiographical, true stories, just anything out there. And they make you hopeful, and they are really enjoyable. Like March is one of my favorites, and it's based on
great example.
Great example. So it's a huge message, but the book itself is an easy read. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. You want to take that one, Chad?
I guess I could. Yeah.
Tackle it, man. That one's all you.
Oh, no. Wait, what?
So you got a comment from Brian there.
He's saying, I could write it that way, but and I gotta be perfectly honest with you, I'm not. The way I'm kind of writing it is, it's each issue is a different genre, and it is me kind of exercising what I can and can't do, or at least where my strengths and weaknesses lie, because anybody could write any genre if they, put their mind to it, I feel. So yeah, some people have the strength in romance, some people have horror, some people have action, but I guess you could do the metaphorical, is this the man or the mask, like the Batman thing. But
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm not Bruce Wayne. I'm just Batman. Bro.
I'm wearing a face that I can stand to look at in the mirror.
Which is Batman, right?
Don't make it be clinical on you guys, because I will effing drop the bomb.
Sorry, look, you shouldn't be Batman. Let's just get that clear. You should be Batman. But no, I'm honestly, I'm having fun. Me and Blake are just having a blast with this book.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and I want to make a quick mention. Well, actually, we're going to change direction just a hair here. We'll talk about publishing, because we all have various degrees of publishing experience. And first off, Chad, you are now with our pals, Rodney, yeah?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your gang and what your goal is.
They smack me with the baseball bat every day. No, my goal...
Hasm Productions, right?
Yes, Hasm Productions. So
we got to give them a quick shout out, because, man, I love Rodney, and
he's too.
They got a terrific crew over there, and he's been on the show. Actually, he was on here 2 weeks ago. But I just love those guys, Chad, and I'm thrilled to see you paired up with them. And I wish you every success with it. So tell us a little bit about what your goal is.
So right now, I guess my biggest goal when it comes to Hasm is getting more of a limelight on them, which is one of the things that I can't go into too much detail with things, but with Tina and Rodney and I, when we were discussing this, when they said, hey, we're going to pick up this book, is to really try to get Hasm into the more broader audiences and getting more genres under their belt. Because really, when you look at it, Rodney is a one-man army when it comes to publishing books. So me kind of coming in and helping out writing and everything is kind of my goal, is just to help them grow. So, and they want my other book too, and I don't know.
Sure. I'm and Derek, I'm going to ask you this question next. I'm a little bit skeptical of publishers. As you know, I'm primarily a self-publisher. I got a little bit of a side deal going on with Antarctic, but I still like the control of doing it myself.
Sure.
Derek, I'm going to turn this around to you. For Sinners, first of all, are you guys linked up with a publisher? Is it self-publisher? How do you do it?
It is all self-publishing. And the reason being, and I would love to hook up with those guys. Again, a little bit of ADHD. I'm not a business guy. I draw, I create, I tell stories. ADHD happened. What was the question?
It was basically, is it going to be self-published, or are you heading towards a publisher? And also the back end of this is, what is your goal for the product?
Self-published. The reason being, with Epic Games, and I worked with them, I'm an artist. I literally am a dime a dozen. So many people can do X, Y, and Z. All the books I've published, I get paid per piece, which is great. I've been very, very blessed. My family's been blessed. But I wanted to kind of bet on myself. And I wanted to bless Andrew and his family. But my ultimate goal is, this is a movie deal. The Shadowrun, the guys I'm working with, I mean, they kind of have the Blight thing going on with Will Smith. So who knows what that's going to happen. I would love to see this into, I'm dreaming so big, into a movie. But like you said, Tim, there's this need that I have a story. I've got to put this out. I was working for GUI Games, like tons of art. And I put it aside, like, I got to tell a story, And ultimately, my buddy Mike Stauffer, whom I love, and he saved my booty so many times, taught me how to drive a stick shift. I wanted him to make him proud of me. I know that sounds so silly.
No, not to me. It doesn't.
But yeah, so my goal is I have a very sick child. I don't want to play on people's heartstrings, but
that's okay, man. Tell us your story.
Man, play on the heartstrings. Yeah, dude. Go ahead.
Our goal, listen, Derek, our goal here tonight, we want to learn about you. So please.
All right. Again, I work in psych. I've worked in group homes. My little girl, she has HI and SI, homicidal ideation, suicidal ideations. She's been gone for almost a year. And it sucks. It just fucking sucks because I miss her. She's my person. I'm hers. And within the next 6 months to a year, she should be home. And I'm trying everything I can to be able to get a job or make enough money where I can work from home so I can support her. And the other thing is my wife, she does oncology. The amount of new cancer she sees, the death she sees weekly. I've got a gift, and I believe it is truly a gift. Now it's been honed because I've had to practice, but it's a gift. She's my partner and my best friend. I would never say, you got to quit, you got to do this. I want to afford her the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe I don't need to work full time, or maybe I can just quit. So I'm trying to create where maybe one day I can be home with my Maddie, and my wife doesn't have to work so hard. I don't need the boat. I don't need the fucking cars, the kayaks. Don't get me wrong. I would love that.
Can I have your boat?
Yeah, I'll take your boat.
Yeah.
If I had 3 boats, all 3 was. I don't need it though. But that's what pushes me to try to do art stuff. And I don't know if this is a genre where it's going to be like, oh, it's awesome. Or if I got an interview with The Walking Dead like a month ago. Didn't make the job, but I'm getting close. I'm getting people. I just want to remain humble.
Yeah.
And if people like my art, I hope they see it, they like the writing. I don't want them to support me, my family, my Maddie. Only if you like it. Anyway, that's it.
I believe in you, man. And, thanks for sharing the personal information.
Yeah, man.
And listen, I think I can speak for all 3 of us. We're 100% behind you, brother.
Absolutely.
For real. Yeah, for real. And our best thoughts and prayers go out for Maddie too. And I hope she comes home soon.
Dude.
Hell yeah. You got this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Freaking.
We will, in the next thing we can talk about let's talk a little bit about who our target audience is. And this is something that, to me, this is a hard one, and I'm still trying to find mine. And this question is going to have 2 parts, right? I'll start with Chad. If you go to, first off, when you make a new product, do you already know who it is aimed at? Or do you just make what you like and the target audience finds it?
I kind of just make what I like, and then the audience just kind of finds it. When I wrote Blue for Marcosia in Action Lab, but we're not getting into that. I kind of wrote it. That one I kind of wrote for me because I really wanted to do a detective horror style story. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to write this. And then people who liked, obviously like Monsters Incorporated and Men in Black, they're like, oh, I really like this. And I also have a couple people who, because it's about child kidnappings and everything, they seem to kind of latch onto that because of parental abuse or something. So that was really nice to see. With The Legend of Sparkle Dog, though, this one currently, I mean, it's a furry book. I mean, it's meant to be hey, what's up, man? How's it going, dude? But I when Blake and I specifically said this is supposed to make fun of furries and kind of do pot shots at the community, but it's also supposed to be meant for furries. And neither one of us are furries. We just really wanted to see what we could do with a furry.
Wait. Is up here free? Because I love your headphones.
Well, I mean, yeah, these are furry, yeah. But me myself, I'm not like a furry, like.
If you were a furry animal, which one would you be?
Oh, I'd be a squid. 100%, I'd be a squid.
He'd be the Lovecraftian unspeakable horror.
Yeah, I'd have a bunch of tentacles and just grab everybody. It'd be great. But no, so I've been to the conventions, I've supported them and everything, but it is meant for the furry community and people who, I guess, just want weird things. So, then I
love weird things, man.
Yeah,
so
weird things are great.
Yeah, weird things tend to be the best things.
Good, because if you ever came up to me like, Chad, that was really weird, I'd be like, yeah, I told you that. like good, weird, or bad.
Weird shit is awesome.
Right. Good, weird, or bad, weird. Yes.
So Derek, how about you? When we talk about target audience, for Sinners, first off, who is the target audience for that project? And the same question then for you, like, do you just make what you want and hope that they find it, or do you design it for a target audience?
Well, funny you should ask that, because we just had a giant conversation between Andrew and I, and I do have one lovely young lady who is doing TikTok stuff for us. Andrew's like, I walk through the conventions and I see like schoolgirls and nurses, and he's like, we should make Zan a schoolgirl and a nurse. I'm like, I'm not feeling that. She's not that. And then our one person, I love her to death. She's like, nah, that's not good. So for stretch goals, one of the stretch goals is like, we make X, we'll make Zan a samurai warrior. Another stretch goal is we'll make Zan a Mayan queen. And I love sexy, but you don't need to be nude to be sexy. What's not seen is very sexy.
The mystery
of
it.
But, I come from an image age with all the image guys and Marvel, where they have the big, voluptuous lands, tracts of bigness.
Huge tracts of land.
Huge tracts of land?
Seriously, I have 6 girls in my life. 5 of them live with me. And I don't want to do that. I want, and I don't mind making a sexy type pose, but I want Zan to be powerful, because that's her character. She wants to manipulate. Because ultimately, again, a borderline personality disorder, what she has, she will do risky things, but she always feels unsafe. So she will do she's like water. You pour water into a cup, she becomes a cup. Pour water into a vase, she's the vase. She's hurt, she is broken. And I don't want to, and that sounds so stupid. You guys are writers. I don't want to exploit Zan.
Sure.
She's not a good person. She's manipulative, but I don't want to have a girl, well, I'm going to say after this.
She has a line.
Like, ooh, I don't want that.
Right.
Well, I think we just went PG-13.
Oh, no. So you're saying that she has a line, is what you're saying.
Well, she really doesn't, but I do.
Well,
okay, you have a line.
I'll expand on what you're saying there. And first of all, hey, Doc, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. He is a very sexy man himself, Mr. Doc Blalock. My quick comment would be, and by the way, I don't have any beef about any kind of sexy content. In fact, I kind of like it.
Sure.
But I will say that at the end of the day, if you're a writer and you're showing a lot of sexy illustrations, when you get to the end of your project, no one will say that was a good writer. You know what I mean? They'll remember the illustrations because, of course, everybody loves a beautiful woman, and who doesn't? We're all into that kind of thing. But the reality is,
I'm the candy wrapper. If it doesn't look good, no one's going to eat it. But the story's bad.
Right.
The candy, no one wants it again.
Yeah, or phrased another way, if you were making it into a prose story, would it still have gotten off the ground without the illustration? Yeah, chances are most of them wouldn't, but that's just one man's opinion. Fraga. So, we talked a little bit about the target audience. I do want to ask you guys about. Go ahead.
Whom is Fraga?
Tell us, Doc.
I used to have a big beard and I got it shaved by accident. I know it sounds crazy. I wanted to Van Dyke and he made me look like freaking Colonel Sanders.
Fraga, that Muppets thing by Jim Henson? No, that's Fraggle Rock.
Maybe it is that.
Down in Fraggle Rock.
I
love Fraggle Rock.
But let's talk about conventions a little bit, because that's something that interests me. Oh, Dan Fraga. You guys know Dan Fraga?
I don't think
he
so.
He must be a damn sexy looking man then.
I'm sure that's what it is. Oh yeah, you do look a little bit like Dan Fraga. I'm running the old Uncle Google here in the background. So circling back around to conventions, we talked about the target audience, and there's lots of ways now.
Oh, he's the guy who did Black Flag.
Oh, he's one of the CG Kings. I don't follow those guys too much, so I don't know. I don't think that's Derek though, or at least I doubt it.
I have a couple of Black Flag books. Anyway.
Conventions, right? One of the best ways to engage with your audience, and what I was starting to say is there's many different ways that we can do this. You got YouTube, which is what I'm trying to do, and podcasts, and which we're all trying to do, and TikTok, which is something the water I just jumped into. There's varying degrees, varying degrees of success with all these things, but potentially the most tried and true one is, of course, comic conventions. Starting with Chad. Chad, do you do conventions, and what is your strategy like?
I actually just did my first convention last year on my own, with my own table. But my strategy so far, because I've worked retail for years, and the biggest strategy that I've kind of learned is just to kind of connect and have like a personal conversation and connection with your target audience. Like if they come up to your table and they want to, talk. Don't give me that look, Derek.
Narcissistic. I was like trying to be a little sexy.
Well, it's working, so calm down, okay?
Easy comment.
But you want to be engaged with the person coming and looking at your table. I mean, I have seen a lot of artists and writers who are like they're on their phone or they're drawing, and if they're drawing, that's fine because you'll walk up to them and be like, "What you drawing? Like, I'm really interested in this." But if you're a writer, you want to, when they walk by your booth, you want to be like, "Hey, you want to talk about Calvin and Hobbes and crime," which is how David Pepos got me to read his book. Yeah. Or Greg Alisi goes, do you like spiders and like werewolves? And I'm like, well, I know
which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's Nana. And that's how they got me in there, is that they were standing out in front of the table. They were talking to their audience. They were just saying like stuff to get people to come in, and anybody that would walk by their table, they would talk to. And that's kind of how my strategy has been as well. Because you also want to sound like you're interested in your books and you're very passionate about it. Because then they'll be like, God, this guy, he absolutely loves it. Take my money or whatever.
Right.
So
Well said. That's a good synopsis of it. And I think that especially the ending of what you said, which you have to be able to enthusiastically promote your work and to be able to deliver a pitch in a compelling way. So, Derek, how about you? Are you a convention guy? Do you have a strategy for conventions?
It has been an interesting year so far because I told my wife, whom I love dearly, I'm just going to one. Well, I went to Ice and Dice with Mark Reinhagen, the World of Darkness reunion, and then home for 2 weeks, got flown out to Denver for Genghis Khan, and I'll be at Gen Con. The thing that I've really noticed, excuse me, I always want to remain humble. And so I'm very extroverted, but at times I get overwhelmed. You have people, like at the last convention, they left notes on my desk. Derek, you're here again. Oh my God, that's so great. It's super humbling. You have people take my picture with you. I'm like, I'm just a normal dude. But to them, like, you're the art guy. Or here's a drink. Come out to eat with me. Here's a party over here. I remember calling my wife from a bathroom going, just need to talk to you. She's my grounding technique. But then I tried the opposite when I came home. I'm like, she's like, you need to take out the garbage. I'm like, you want my autograph instead? She's like, nope. But with the conventions, you always need to be on. Like Chad said, you need to be engaging. Because if you don't believe in your work, nobody else is.
Yep.
Right.
And
Right.
take constructive criticism. I got 2 art books out. And this is very narcissistic. Like, oh, it's my art books. But I use it for portable portfolios to say, here's this to some of the people at the convention. And then you get the weird people from Facebook who are like, you're so sexy, yada yada. Like, I'm married, da 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 da. And believe it or
those
not,
people, bring them to me. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
married
where
too.
the hell are those people? I don't get this.
so my wedding ring, we weren't even married yet. I got it like a month before I went to my conventions. Again, it is very humbling, but conventions are a must because I want to do this full time, and you have to put your product out, and you have to put the people first. As an artist, I'll draw characters for people, but if someone comes and talks to me, that stops.
Yep.
How are you? Who are you? What do you like? Tell me about yourself. And it really is exhausting after a time. Every person you meet, you should make them feel special.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it that way, because one of the main things, the main takeaway here is we sometimes forget that our customers, our end user, that's a person on the other end of that transaction, and we have to try and engage with them. I would just add this. I do relatively well at conventions. I've only done a couple, but I always do Baltimore. That's our big one. And we do the whole splash, right? It's a double table. I got a 10-foot banner. We do all kinds of drawings, and I have a cosplay aid station where we have stuff like duct tape and thread. And just a quick cosplay comment. Sometimes writers and publishers say things like, well, the cosplay's in my way, and what does that have to do with comics? And they kind of bitch.
I like doing cosplay. It's fun.
Yeah, look, let me level with you. Cosplay has everything to do with comics, and let me tell you why. It's because that person has the passion for the hobby so much that they're being creative with it. And creativity and comics, as you know, go hand in hand. So what we try to do is embrace it. And what I mean by that, we even do things like we'll have free water bottles for at least as long as till they run out. And people stop there, and I always say, hey, would you mind if I took a photo of you?
Yep.
They always want to take a photo. And then you come around, and of course, everybody on social media sees that photo of the cosplayer, and here's my brand logo in the background.
Well, they also, too, especially when people buy your book and they're wearing cosplay and you take a picture of them, that's really engaging because you're like, it's not just somebody wearing normal clothes. It's, oh, that person's wearing a sweet Harley Quinn costume. Right. Oh, and they're holding Timothy's book.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And like I say, you couldn't, it's better than any kind of advertising you could buy. It's better than Google AdWords.
Yeah, can we all say, just again, going back to the psychological thing, we are blessed to create worlds where people want to be lost in. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can say that.
Right.
And I pray and I hope someone dresses up like Zan. And as an artist, I didn't do this integral costume. It's leather jackets and some ears. I wanted to make it easy in case somebody wanted to cosplay. But we create worlds that people will get lost in. And what a blessing that is.
I agree. And along with that, too, when the cosplay is simple as well, it's recognizable. I mean, look at how many people with John Constantine, I'll be like, tie, trench coat.
Yeah.
That's there. But truthfully, I think you're blessed when you have an iconic design as well. So,
yep.
But I like that. I like that. We are blessed to create worlds.
Yeah, that's a really good line, Derek.
Yeah.
You guys can have it. Share it.
Yeah.
We are blessed to create
worlds. I'm going to text Nita, hey, you're blessed and we are blessed to make worlds. Anyway. So
I want to tie on to that a little bit, and I'm going to ask Chad this question and then Derek. There's varying levels of success that we could all have. And, to some people, it's the big Kickstarter. To some people, it's the publishing deal or the movie deal or the end game. We all have a different end game. So starting with Chad, what does success look like to you? What would be your measuring stick where you'd go, you know what, man, I'm successful?
think I'm going to take the humble route that Derek has said before, and I just want people to read my books. Like, I always try to keep in mind that it's not about the Netflix, it's not about the big movie deals. I mean, yes, those would be absolutely nice, don't get me wrong, but I care about the one person who has picked up my book and said, wow, this is really good, or wow, this is really bad, because at least they gave it a shot and read it. Like, I can't stop them from not liking something. So it's just, with me and with my successes, when people get excited that I'm doing a new project, or they're excited to see me write. When I told one of my friends, I go, yeah, I'm starting a new book with Michael Lanning. And she got really excited. She's like, you're finally doing something other than Blue in your Sparkle Dog book? And I'm like, shut up. We've been best friends for years. But yeah, so I mean, it was really exciting about that.
That sounds like a good friend too, because a good friend will push you a little.
They will, yeah. One of my readers of Blue, when I said that just briefly, I said, yeah, I'm working on another series of that. They were like, oh my God, I love that book. I'm like, aw. So that's my success, is just people reading them. That's me. I want to have fun.
That's a great goal, man. And I tell you, I admire that. Derek, how about you? If you had a measuring stick where you say, okay, I'm successful, what does your measuring stick land on?
Twofold. I have to go back just a bit. I was working at an alternative school, and I had 2 hours that I had to come up with a curriculum. And I didn't call it Dungeons and Dragons because of the satanic panic. I called it World of Warcraft. I had this young girl who was, she was heavier set, bad hygiene. She was shy. I printed out a picture of a beautiful elf. I'm like, that's you. And all these gangbangers, thugs were around her like, oh my God, you're my girlfriend. You're my girlfriend. She found her voice. She became a leader. She still contacts me from time to time. With my clinical diagnosis of mental health stuff in the back of the book, because I want it to be fun, but I want people to understand that these are real issues.
Sure.
If I can help somebody, I know it sounds so cheesy, but if I could help somebody, that'd be great.
Yeah.
The second part is where I can be home with my Maddie and my wife doesn't have to deal with death every day. I don't need to make $1 million, but if I could sit at this desk right here and create worlds where people are engaged,
sure,
that would be success.
Sure, just sit at the desk and hang out with cool people too.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Hang out with us, man. This is where the action is.
I'm gonna come over to your house.
I just want to chime in and say I love both of your goals, and I think they're terrific. I'm keen on mentioning that both of yours dovetail into mine. I kind of mentioned earlier, I'm not really in this for the money. I mean, what's the best way to say this? Nobody says, man, I tell you what, I heard there's a ton of money in comics. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get into comics. Now, we all know that there's money in it if you hit the right time and the right product, right? So it is something like all things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to something inside of us where we have the love of this craft, right? Mm-hmm. And, one of my highest, most positive moments was I was at a convention about a year ago. It's about a year and a half ago now. And I wasn't there for myself. I used to be the general manager of an auction house called Hakes, and they do like high-end comics and action figures and things. And I would go there and I would work their booth and I would help people to take consignments or to sell their various products, right? And what happened to me was I hear this voice behind me, and this voice goes, "Are you author Timothy Fling?" And I turned around and I said, "Yes, I am." And she says, "Hey, would you sign my books for me? I buy all the books that you write." And she opens up this little cardboard box. And at this point, I'd done maybe 5 Kickstarters, and every book I ever wrote was in there. And she goes, "I really like them a lot. Your stuff's not like the other comic book people." And I'm telling you, my heart grew 3 sizes that day. I could have hugged her. Actually, I did hug her. And, because that's the kind of thing we want to hear, right? That's,
it is.
You could have knocked me over with a feather. I'd never had anything like that happen. And, I'm fortunate in the sense that I work with lots of great people, but, I'm not exactly, it'd be fair to say it's not a warm rain of money falling on me all day either. You know what I mean? So, I'm still trying to figure out all the angles.
can we piggyback on that? Because
Yeah, man, go for it.
first of all, thank you for what you've done for me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not really for sure how I got a hold of you or you got a hold of me.
Yeah,
But
I reached out. I saw your stuff, and I was like, "This guy's awesome."
I'm like, hey, can I do some work for you? Please, 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 may I? And I like cryptids.
Yeah.
I live in North Carolina, and I will find Bigfoot one day. I may not share it with the world because, he does his own thing, but you bless me with a nice amount of payment, and I got to create several cryptids for you. And you've been so nice to bless Chad and I about our upcoming Kickstarters. Can you please share yours?
Oh, sure. I'll just do it briefly. Like I say, thanks for saying that. And one of the things when I was kind of new, and I'm still kind of new. I've only been doing this three years, maybe 4, whatever.
Oh,
but,
really?
Yeah, like other creators were real nice to me and sort of gave me a boost, right? So I wanted to do something small to try and give stuff back, and that's when I started making the YouTube channel, and then people seemed to like that, and then we started doing this, and now this course is going real well. But so my next Kickstarter's coming up. It's just about 7 days away. It's called Call of the Cryptid. It is a cryptid-based sci-fi adventure with interior art by Erwin Arosa, and one of the stretch goals, there's going to be a set of trading cards by Derek Stevens.
Nerd.
You were so cool. Again, going back to like the art direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, does this cryptid look good? He's like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's
like,
a little bit, it's his version. Like each person is going to have sort of like their own interpretation.
I love cryptid books. I think you can get so creative with them.
Yeah, I hope it's successful. Like I will tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about this one. I'll tell you why. Because, normally I'm known for doing this Water Wars series. You can see it behind me. And all those, each book is a self-contained story. Like you don't have to buy the whole set. You don't have to read number 2 to understand number 4. They're short stories is what they are. But the new one is it's each episode ends with a cliffhanger. It's a little bit more like The Walking Dead, where you get to the last page and it's like, oh, you got to buy the next one to see what happens, right? So I've never done that before. And then it's going to run for 4 issues, and then it'll be collected into a trade. Yeah. And what I do is I pitch my stuff on Kickstarter, and then when it's finished, I submit it to publishers.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's my hope for that one. Yeah, that's my hope for that one. So, and we are just
you need to put your Kickstarter information in the chat log.
The link is not out yet. It'll be well, it'll probably be. I didn't even submit it for approval yet. I usually get approved pretty fast. It's probably it usually takes me about a day or two because I've done this will be number 6, or you know what, it might be number 7. But I do. Hey, if you want to follow my stuff, I'll tell you what I do. I am going to be in Travis Gibbs' new book, and I know that we're all friends with Travis. Let me. I'll put that in the link because I got a short story in there, and I will give him a shout out.
I'm actually working on a Bigfoot.
Can I share a story as an artist with you?
Yeah,
so I'm not going to mention the company, but they used AI art, and they wanted me to be a part of it. I'm like, yeah, I do believe it can be a tool.
Sure,
and that's okay. And they gave me these images to like, well, can you reinterpret this and do this X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, you're using so much AI art, and I didn't want my name tied to it.
Yeah.
But you said number 7, so this is a secret for these few people here. I used the pseudonym, whatever, as Slevin. Like, don't tie my name to it. I fixed the faces, fingers, and some background stuff. And as an artist, I really, as a GM, if I needed to type something cool to show my players, that's fucking awesome. But the AI and the chat stuff is putting workers, writers, and artists out of business. I just don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, let's take a second and let's talk about that topic because I want to hear what Chad thinks of that too. I guess I'll just go first. I'm firmly against AI. I don't rant about it in the chats. I don't say anything about it, but I'm just enough of a kook to believe that AI will destroy us all. Here's what I mean by that.
Here.
Yeah.
Have you seen Terminator? There's like 9 million movies.
Right, yeah. And you know, here's the thing. First, it's coming for the artist. And you've seen some of the art. It's mostly terrible. Then the second thing is it's coming for the writers. Chad, right behind it, it's coming for music. Because music is very mathematical in its composition.
Yes.
So here it comes. And when companies find out that they don't have to pay us, trust me when I say it'll be like every other element of capitalistic society where it'll be used to crush us rather than used to enhance our lives. So, go ahead, Chad. What's your thoughts on AI?
I was going to say, wait, does that mean I can sleep and I don't have to work anymore? No, but my take on it is, for one, you mentioned music, and I definitely agree with you. The Japanese are already doing that with their Vocaloid projects, if you're not familiar with
I'm
those.
not. Tell us a little bit about it.
So their AI what it is that it's kind of like synth pop, but all the people, all the words and all the lyrics and everything are created by computers with people. And there's a lot more stuff that goes into it as well, more sciencey stuff. So it's a little bit more advanced. But so wouldn't really be too surprised. But if they take away my disgusting gritty metal, I would destroy somebody.
Yeah, here.
I would. Yeah, like I need to show up in this with somebody growling into a microphone and the blood and gore is going. As for the AI art, I do agree with Derek when it can be used as a tool, because I do know that writers sometimes can't get like a proper angle and they can't describe things very well. So it is nice to just talk to the artist and say, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And
that's great.
Yeah, like I get that. But just to say, I'm an artist and I'm going to publish this. Like, no, you don't understand really the work that's gone into it, you know?
I will quick share something, and then we'll go. I want to get one more pitch out of you guys, but I was one of the guys who was what they call scrubbed, if you know this term. And basically what it means is, and by the way, viewers, correct me if I got some of this wrong, but essentially all your created works go into like a database, and the algorithm will analyze it, and it will create a product that is similar to the information that it saw. And this turned up on Reddit, and I was messaged by it to a fella. He reached out to me. His name's Brian Krieger. He's another author. He's like, Tim, is this your new book? If not, you need to know about this. And somebody on Reddit had put out a cover mock-up for a thing
I remember
called
seeing that.
Water Wars. And not only did it look like my logo, it looked like my character and my art. And I was like, what the? And I reached out to the guy and I said, hey, man, listen, you're talking about a trademark title here. It's shipped to 19 countries. We're getting ready to do the 5th issue. This isn't like an open source thing. And I said it very politely and stuff. I said something, you might want to change your direction and change the title. And the guy wrote back to me. Actually, he was very cool. He said, oh, hey, listen, man, this is just a mock-up. I used AI and it must have scrubbed your data. I didn't even write the story yet. I'll change it around. And I was like, oh, geez, buddy. So I was one of the ones that was affected by this. Sure. And in fairness, he did take it down and he took care of me. But I was like, uh-oh, because there you go. I was one of the guys affected.
Yeah, I remember you were posting that I remember you posted that on Facebook, and I was like, oh, damn, man. And
I was grateful because I tell you what, the guys in the indie community, again, looked out for me. They're like, does Tim know about this? Because I didn't know. So
it's nice too, though, that he was pretty cool with it as well. Like,
yeah, honestly, the guy was nice, and he was kind of just messing around with AI is all he was doing.
Yeah, and I have no problem with people playing around with it. Like, you can get some really stupid, goofy stuff, and I am a sucker for stupid, goofy things. But don't call yourself. No, you could beat me up, but don't call yourself an artist. You're not.
No, if you type in hot, sexy samurai chick, and it pops up. You didn't do that.
No, you didn't. It's like going into Pornhub and typing out stepsister gets stuck in dryer. You didn't make that. Wait.
I'm writing this down. What?
Okay, so stepsister gets stuck in dryer. But
I'm going to hell.
But you were going there anyway.
I mean, we're all going there. Let's all get onto the train there.
Yeah,
but
save me a seat.
It's like you didn't create that. You just looked it up, and the AI provided.
Right.
Like that's what that is.
It's not the same thing.
But again, if you take away my freaking aggressive guitar music, I will be so mad.
Yeah, but speaking of which, Chad, I'm a little bit mad we didn't get to talk about metal too much tonight, so we'll save that for our next episode.
We sure do.
Chad and I both love tours, but
We
we've almost reached our time, so let's do one more. We're going to go around, and if you could just tell us briefly where we can find your work, and just to give us sort of a brief closing statement about it, and why you think we should be following it. Chad, you go first.
All right, so my name is Chad. I'm currently working on The Legend of Sparkle Dog. Don't say, wait, what was the rest of it you wanted?
Oh, why we would love it.
Oh, why would you love it? So I think you guys would love it if you want something really weird, experimental, and just something that kind of pushes my limits when it comes to a writer. I also think that, yeah, if you just want weird stuff, I think you'll really enjoy it.
Which I do.
But you can check it out. It's currently live right now. It's full. I mean, it's funded.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. I know it was a small little goal, but hey, being funded under 12 hours is still being funded under 12 hours, you know?
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't matter how low the goal was. So, but we're also almost at the third stretch goal. So we just unlocked the second one this week. So we're almost at the third one as well, which is the cell phone wallpaper. And that is
nice.
Only going to be available with the Kickstarter. So, yep.
And Derek, how about you? Give us one more quick pitch and tell us why we will love your project.
All right. So, radio voice. So, if you want a femme fatale who has no boundaries and is self-hating and loathing, who wants to create love but fears it, with her partner, a gun-toting orc, who's very intellectual but has mental defects, and a dwarf who gathers favors for so many, only to utilize them for himself, to find a pigeonhole, to find a way to meld magic and technology with lots of twists and turns. And so cool art. I mean, I'm the artist. I don't know if there's any other art out there like mine. I don't want to sound narcissistic, but it's very cool. I like it. It's different.
No, your art's sweet, dude. When you sent that to me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I want that.
Thank you. I just, when we're talking about sex and lewd, it's not that I'm against it. I want to follow the story. I want to have reasons why so-and-so was rendered friendly, because we never say kill them. Or if there's a sex scene, I want to follow a good story. I am even role-playing. I want a story, and that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a great story. You will love to hate Zan. You will love Aristotle, the lovable orc, who is so intellectual, yet clueless. And Tennyson, who's just a fucking asshole. You can bleep that out.
If you like Clueless, I want to say, though, if you like characters that are intellectual but also have a lot of problems, you might like the character in my next story. He is very intellectual, but he's super awkward and super aggressive with things.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
He likes one of the scenes is he sacrifices 6 children, or he uses 6 children as bait to get the job done. It's never explained why or how.
Well, this sounds great. I would like to just congratulate both you guys on your projects. And please, viewers, if you can, please go and take a look. Guys, I want to say this was a really fun interview. I really enjoyed learning more about you. And I hope the viewers feel the same way. I thought this interview had great depth, too. And, of course, Chad's always fun to have around. He's a thrill a minute, so you never know what's going to happen next. Wow. Also, I wanted to send a quick get well to Peter Breau, who was ill tonight, and he couldn't join us. But if you're so inclined, please check out his work as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been an episode of The Creative Cranium. Thanks and good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.